We split 3.2 into two sections, so I'm going to do that with the video as well. The first one is solving systems of equations using substitution, and then I'll do elimination in the second video. So in order to use substitution to solve a system, you need to have one of the two equations solved for a variable. So you need to either have it in the form x equals other stuff on the other side, or y equals. So we're going to look at those two and decide which of those variables we would like to solve for. If I try to solve for one of the two x's, then I'm going to have to divide. In the first equation, I would have to divide by 2, and I would end up with a fraction. In the second equation, I'd have to divide by 5, end up with a fraction. Sometimes you can't avoid that, but we want to avoid it if we can, and in this one we can. So I'm going to isolate the y in that top equation. I'm going to get that one by itself. So to do that, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I'm going to move it to the other side. So we get y is equal to negative 2x plus 12. So now that you have an equation that is solved for y, that's what I'm going to substitute. Since I know what y is, in the other equation, I'm going to remove that y. It's gone. So I'm going to pull the quarterback. We're going to bench him. And since y is equal to negative 2x plus 12, we're going to substitute that in its place. Remember that they have to be equal or equivalent in order to substitute them. So everything else stays the same. The rest of this team stays the same. You have your negative 5x minus, now you don't have y because you took your y out, and you're going to replace it with its equivalent, negative 2x plus 12, and then equals negative 33 still. So be careful here when you have this negative in front of the parentheses. It's like a negative 1 right there. You need to distribute that through the parentheses. So negative 5x, negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2x, negative 1 times negative 12, or times 12, excuse me, is negative 12, is equal to negative 33. These two terms I can combine, they're on the same side. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3x. And to move the 12 over, it's being subtracted right now, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 12 to both sides of the equation. So negative 3x equals negative 33 plus 12 is negative 21. And then divide both sides by negative 3. So x is 7. We are trying to find two variables. We're finding the x and the y coordinates, where if I graphed these two lines, that point where they would cross, that ordered pair, which would have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. So we come back up here to one of these three versions of the equations. You can use either version of the top one or the second one. Now that we have solved for x, we're going to plug that in so that we can find y. Since this one is y equals, I'm going to put it in here. Y equals negative 2 times 7 plus 12. Y is equal to negative 2. So remember to write it as an ordered pair. The x coordinate is 7 and the y coordinate is negative 2. On your test, you can check it. Remember that you can go into the other equation, this bottom one now, and you could put 7 in for the x. That would be negative 35. Negative 2 in for the y. Subtracting a negative would make that plus. So negative 35 plus 2 equals negative 33. It checks out, and we're good.